So, it's Saturday evening and you're on B, unless you're in a time zone where that isn't the case. You probably have a lot of sadness and anger towards the world. Maybe this story will validate your anger and sadness. Maybe it'll make you feel like you shouldn't be as angry and sad. All I know is that it's the story of the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and it starts about 5 years ago. My stepmother is a cunt. Like, a huge cunt. She's a Christian Scientist and an awful woman who's borderline abusive and hates everyone in the family. She justifies her being a cunt with, well, you kids think I'm the evil stepmother anyways, so I might as well be. I used to feel bad for hating her because I just wanted my dad to be happy, but I do not feel this way any longer. About 5 years ago, I was a senior in high school. A new girl moved in. Her name was Nicole. Nicole was a misfit from the start. She was socially inept, dressed weird, and kept to herself. Whenever she tried to reach out and make friends, she just seemed mean or scary. I knew straight off the bat that we'd get along perfectly. One day, I came up to her after class and referred to a joke she had made. She thought I was making fun of her and started trying to apologize for it. I told her it was hilarious. We had lunch. Long story short, she didn't have any friends, and she wanted friends, and I wanted to be her friend. We were fast friends. By the end of senior year, Nicole and I are dating. We lost our virginity to each other. We went to the same college in the same city. As college moved on, our relationship just kept getting stronger. We got an apartment together, and we talked about post-college plans. It became apparent that as things were going, we might get married, and it was amazing. However, Nicole started to get sick. One day, she found a lump in her breast. She had breast cancer. They took her into the hospital, and in some awful fucking twist of events, in addition to breast cancer, she had brain cancer. The doctor said that since they found out early enough, they might be able to do some help, but it was a dangerous situation. Each day we spent together felt so important. We were inseparable. I called my dad to tell him. I was so devastated about everything. 2 days later, I got a phone call. Nicole starts contemplating suicide as she starts rapidly losing weight and hair. I stick by her side throughout the whole ordeal. Skip as many classes as I can, get another job to help pay for hospital bills, realize that I'm running out of potential time to ask her to marry me, decide that I should ask her so she can have that before it's too late, call my dad, let him know my intentions, and let him know that if he wants to come, he's welcome, but that my stepmother is not. He says he understands. The next day, Nicole and I come home from the hospital, and who is waiting outside our building but my goddamn stepmother? Robert, I think we need to talk about what you told your father. No, we do not. Robert, you can't marry Nicole. For one thing, she's going to die. And for another thing, she's choosing medicine over prayer, which is against our family's religion. My whole body goes cold with rage. I had not proposed to Nicole yet, and I was going to surprise her. But instead, she found out by hearing my stepmother say I was forbidden from it and that Nicole was going to die. Without thinking, I punched my stepmother in the face, and she fell to the ground. I walked Nicole into our building without looking back. Continue helping Nicole. One day, the hospital says they're having trouble with my card. Insufficient funds. That's impossible. There's thousands of dollars in that account. Go and check on my laptop. It's been withdrawn, and my bank account is empty. My father set the account up with me when I was going into college. He set up my original account when I was a sophomore in high school, and I realized that he had the authority to do this. I'm furious, and I call my father, let him know that I'm coming for my money, and if I don't get it, I'll call the cops and report theft. He tells me that he has the rights to call the police and report my assault on my stepmother. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I tell him I'm coming over and we can discuss this in person. I yelled at him for 4 hours and got my money back. We went to the bank the next day and set up a new account that he had nothing to do with. Take care of hospital bills. Now that the whole marriage thing is out in the open, I discuss it with Nicole. She really wants to get married before she dies. It's becoming more and more probable that she's not going to make it very long. Get an engagement ring. Take her out to this old field we used to hang out in during high school, where we had all sorts of memories. It was this huge foresty area under the stars off of the main road. Get engaged. Holding her hand, that was the most beautiful moment of my life. I had cut off all contact with my father and stepmother at this point. Everything seemed to be going all right, and Nicole started acting much happier. She said how important it was to her that now, if she was going to die, she'd be happy dying, and she'd be dying with me. It hurt so much to have to think about it, but knowing she was accepting this horrible, inevitable outcome was good. We have a low-key wedding with only friends and Nicole's family. Explained that I'm not doing it for her because of the cancer, that I just wasn't letting it get in the way of what I always wanted to do anyways. Nicole is happier than I'd ever seen her. It was easily the best day of my life. About 2 weeks into our marriage, Nicole's health starts getting worse and worse. We start going to the hospital far more frequently. The doctor estimates she has about a month to live. Hearing those words was one of the most horrifying moments of my life. Up until that point, there was no set-in-stone sort of outcome. There was always, and admittedly distant, hope of things turning out okay. My hopes were crushed. I dropped my courses for the semester and set it up so that I'd finish in the fall of next year, and I spend every day with Nicole. We are so in love that it physically hurts to think about her dying. She'd been holding up fine, but now she was starting to get afraid. You need to be with me when I die. I don't want to be alone when I die. She keeps making me promise that I'll be there. 3 weeks after she gets the 1-month warning, and we're in our apartment together just holding each other and listening to music, there's a knock on the door. I go to answer it, and it's the police. I'm being arrested for assaulting my stepmother. I'm put in jail overnight. As I get taken away, Nicole is just screaming, "Don't leave me." The next day I'm let out as my father and stepmother drop the charges. My dad picks me up to say that he hopes I learned a lesson. Tell him I need to go home. He drives me to his and stepmom's house for me to apologize. He keeps me there for 2 hours because my stepmother doesn't believe I'm sorry when I say so, although clearly I am not sorry. My car and cell phone were at the apartment. Eventually he says, "This isn't over," and he takes me home. I knock on the door, and there's no answer. Oh shit. I find the spare key and come in. Nicole is on the floor. She's in the fetal position, and the room smells awful. She's dead. Her face is caked in tears. She had texted me, "Come home," about 30 times, but my phone was off and in the other room. This happened last year, and I've been contemplating suicide ever since. I haven't spoken to my father since this. The reason it just came up is because last week he called and said he got diagnosed with prostate cancer and had 2 months to live and wanted to patch things up before it got too late. I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out whether or not to, but he never accepted any guilt, nor did my stepmother, and they're still married, so I'm pretty much planning on letting him die knowing I want nothing to do with him.